A lot of you have been eagerly anticipating some sort of role guide, and today I'm actually here to do that for us. So, let's zoom out of the map. Welcome to the Sulu guide of how to play Central Area. Now, because I believe in upfronting the knowledge, I'm going to give you a small outline of what the video is going to have, and if you like it, you can stay, and if you don't, leave a sub, like, and comment on the video. I really appreciate it, and let me know what you'd like to see instead. So, what are we going to go through in this video? We're going to teach you what is the Central Area, how to play the Central Area, what characters should play the Central Area, some Central Area tricks, and just some general idea of like everything that is about the Central Area. Alright, okay, now I hope that you're interested, so let's get started. Oh, a little bit gassy. Okay, so the Central Area composes of this area in the middle of the game. Now, there's 4 camps there. That's very important. You need to know this. So there's 4 camps there, which in total, like I guess it's gonna be small, but like I want you guys to know this. This is 12% ulti charge, okay? So now that you know that, 12% ulti charge between these 4 boxes, right? And there's gonna have 2 ball toys and a buff and another buff. Okay, and we're gonna go put them there. Ball toy, then buff, and the buff. Alright, so great. Now we just see the central heroes. So basically, there's 2 types of pathing. So every central area has to start in the jungle. That's how you start. And I like to call the jungle over the central area. So when you start in this area, you need to clear the camps and then go to a lane. And you need to usually go to one of the lanes before the timer hits 850. Okay, so now that we know this in mind, okay, so before 850, we're going to be in one of the lanes. We're going to hope that we make an effective gank, which we talked about a lot, but a gank is basically when you walk into the lane as the central area and you try to create a disturbance as an advantage player. It's like an ambush almost, okay? Try to think like that. You're creating an ambush on another player, hoping to use the numbers advantage and the surprise to take them down and do something in the map. So that's the general premise. That's pretty much the start of central area. If you fail this, you are not playing central area, you're not doing correctly. So what do we have to do? There's 2 types of jungle clears. There's a jungle clear where you can start. So you can start red or you can start blue. So this is blue, this is red. And what happens is you have to clear in a way which makes you end up with the other buff most of the time. So let's just say if I want to start red, I would clear like this and then end up in the bot lane. And if I want to start blue, I'd clear like this and end up in the top lane. Okay? So now you can sort of see, if I do blue to start, I'm going to end up in top lane. If I do red to start, I'm going to end up in bot lane. Now, there are advanced jungle clears called the U's. So we're doing C jungle clears. U jungle clears work like this, where you end up in the shorter end of the lane. This works if you're worried that they're going to invade you really fast and get a huge advantage. So an invade, just a quick, I guess like a little bit of knowledge. An invade is when an opponent, like let's just say Sableye, let's grab Sableye, runs through the middle of the map and then tries to contest you at one of your jungle camps. So you might think that Sableye is invading you at your blue. You can do 1 buff before it. So you do your blue and you run to red. And then you clear down this way and then go into the bot lane. If you go up top, it's a little bit inefficient, so try not to do that as much. You can very easily gank bot lane from here. So if you think there's going to be an invade or you want to, I don't know, put the jungle boss off cooldown. So remember, every minute despawn. So every minute after they're taken. So you can time it. What you want to do is after that first gank that you have here in one of the lanes, so 850, right? You contribute to the bees or the birds or whatever you like to call it, Swabble and Altaria. Once you contribute there and you come back here, what actually happens is if depending on the clear, you have to redo that same clear. Now, so some characters will struggle because if we gank top side, right? So we gank top if we do blue. You have to come to the blue buff and then do again, right? You sort of understand that? So I finish top, I go to the blue, and then I continue on into the middle because that's the next spawn, and you have to make it there in time. Now, so that's why some little tricks like doing red first, then going like this, like the U clear, it means that when you come back, the first buff is red, then you get blue, and then you go straight to middle, and you'll be there early. Like, as you can see, that there's some very advanced jungle clearing patterns that are probably not going to go into today too much, but now you're sort of starting to see what the benefits of the different patterns are. And, be creative. Look, if you think that there's going to be a really hard jungle invade and you're not going to do anything about the boss, do the ball toys first, and then see if you can do these. Like, I would never really recommend the N clear, because this is what I call N clear, because it's not very good anymore. But Back in the old days, it used to be okay, and it particularly works well if you know they're going to hard invade and you want to just get some experience. For example, a good example is if you're a level 4 character, and you are unsure if you can guarantee get the buff. Well, then go do the Boltoy clear first, and then you're going to guarantee get level 4, and then maybe you can contest any of the buffs now. So those are some examples of why you do the N clear, the U clear, and the C clear. So knock. That's the only free clears in the jungle. Anything else, like reverse C, like the D, is just actually trolling. Because you start like this, and then you end up here. It's so slow. Whereas, as I said, even the N clear is really rough because you have to double the buffs. Okay, and you do also have, I think we're missing one creature, the Xatu. You should always finish the Xatu before 9:45. Otherwise, you're I don't know. Okay, so now that we understand, what the jungle is, sort of what happens in the first minute of the game, if that's what you're doing, what kind of characters do jungle, right? So you want characters that have high impact in the early game, or you want characters that scale very well and have a threatening late game. You have to have clear and set power spikes, and you want to be somewhat useful at level 9 because you're going to be the first person in your team to hit level 9 most of the games. So I'll give you some examples. I'll put 2 junglers on the screen, which is going to be... Okay, my light actually just died. I just need to make sure... Yeah, you guys can still see me. We're okay. But yes, you can see 2 junglers on the screen. Something like an early jungler like Leafeon, a very good example of an early jungler. And something like a late game jungler like Delphox. Now, what are the differences between the two? Leafeon levels up at level 4. It is very strong at level 6. It's a strong securing threat, so it has a lot of presence in the lanes, and it has a lot of mobility. Now, Delphox is literally the opposite. Weak secure, it scales at level 6 the first time it gets any good move, and then it scales really well into the late game, depending on how far ahead it gets. But as you can see, there's a clear juxtaposition because the ideas of the characters are very different. Leafeon wants to have the strong first gank, it is powerful to start, and will push in the lane and help the teammates do something at the top or bot lane. Whereas Delphox, you sort of need the enemy to underestimate the power and really, grief into you. And that furthermore leads into what happens after this 850 clear. So this is one of the most important parts of junglers. Junglers like this get 2 choices. Well, Delphox in this case only gets 1 choice. Delphox has to go back, and Leafeon gets to go either forward or back. You can either choose to invade, you can choose to double gank. You can't do that on Delphox either. Delphox has to live in its jungle, right? But yeah, for example, you can double gank, you can camp, you can invade, or you can do your own clear. That's why you want to play a stronger, earlier game jungler. However, sometimes if you feel like super hard carrying, the Delphoxes are there for you. But that would be a good example, right? So junglers get a lot of decisions in the game, and these decisions make a large impact of what will happen throughout the next few minutes for the enemy team and your team. So in this case, we're just quite simply putting it, I'm really dumbing it down, but you got 4 decisions. I can gank bot lane, I can camp top lane, I can take my jungle, and I can invade the enemy team's jungle. And you need to incorporate this to understanding, okay, whatever I do, there's going to be a reaction. Remember, whatever happens in the world, there's an equal and positive reaction, a negative and positive reaction. You have to remember that. It's a good lesson to learn for the jungle. If I invade, I'll give you an example. If I invade and I contest the buff, if the team comes to help, that means one of the lanes is going to be weaker. Maybe it's time to peel off and then go and re-look at the game. But then the thing is, you will be behind in levels. However, if no one comes to help, you'll be straight up ahead. You more than likely will secure your buff and more than likely end up with a kill and shut down the enemy jungler's speed. So you can get this whole advantage, but there is a disadvantage. If the invade fails, you're going to be behind in levels, you might even die, and you're going to lose the mid-Bs. So it comes to the next point, right? So you can clear your jungler. Again, whether you do C, U, or N, you could also gank bot lane. So sometimes what will happen is the bot lane will be winning or losing, and the enemy players will be standing on the pad like this. And if you come in here, it's just a free double kill. Please open your eyes and consider this as a play as a jungler. A lot of the time I'll see people standing on the pads as the enemy team. If you don't have any killing pressure, don't consider this play. But if you do, you should, because it's going to make a big difference. And I'll just put it like this. Your guys are getting domed. Domed is the abbreviation for bashed headache. Excuse me. Yes, your guys are getting domed, and you're Leafeon. Go down there and dome them instead. You know, don't let your teammates get destroyed. You come in, you help them out, and then now they will be the ones who are ahead in the lane and less likely to lose next time around. So you can see that you have this butterfly effect as a jungler, and you need to be constantly thinking about it. You need to be constantly aware that what you do reverberates in the game. You are the person with free energy. You have the rotations, you have the power of the game in your hands, and it's up to you to choose and decide the right decisions to make things going right. Yes, junglers can't solo carry. I want to reaffirm you. You know, a lot of people do think they can. Yes, you can, but if your lanes are griefing, you know, there's going to be a hard game anyway. But you can make these decisions. You can camp top again and, you know, get a double kill, whatnot. It's all about, you know, the other jungler, they're also going to have agency. And so that's important to think about. All right. Okay, so now that we've gone past all this, what happens at 8 minutes? So 8 minutes, this is going to be a B spawning. This is probably, after this moment, there's like no script, I would say. I will just put some general tips. But at this 8 minutes, the bees spawn and there's going to be some sort of skirmish. You should count how many people come from the lanes. And you should see, can I do these? Can I do them in time? Can I escape? Can I fight? What can I do? And now, as I said, another plethora of decisions have been available for the jungler. You can either score bottom, you can score top, you can fight them here. I guess I'll use an X for fight. You can try to secure and run away. You can see now, there's a lot of ideas that have appeared. And as I said, depending on the jungler's strength and what kind of character you're playing, you should tally your decision based on that. If you're playing something with strong secure or strong fighting power, you should probably fight for the bees and, you know, be around there. If you're playing something that can't even be there, think about, you know, maybe we don't even go there and maybe we rotate into one of the lanes and try to shove it. You have to understand that your actions also have consequences. So if you do this play, for example, let's just say you fight mid and you lose, you're going to get 4 people running to one of the lanes on your side, right? And the same thing happens if you fight here and you win, you're going to get 4 people running to one side of the jungle or even to invade. So you have so many options, right? Consequences of actions. Same thing as if you go to the score, they win this and they go top lane, they're going to send 4 people top lane and you're going to probably have like 1 defender or 2 if you're lucky. Now you can only imagine what happens to them. They're going to get like, you know, steamrolled and yeah, like they're dead. So probably going to lose this pad. Make sure you know what's happening. Be aware of the game state. Be aware of what's your influence and what the consequences of your actions are. No negatives. Okay, so now that we sort of know that there's a few types of junglers, let's talk a little bit more about the jungler pool selection. So now that we've pretty much explained like the decisions the jungler is going to make, we explained the types of junglers, we've also explained the general game flow up to 8 minutes, and we've explained a lot about like how your decisions have consequences, both positive and negative. So you need to be mindful of that. Let's go and explain why, like at least I favor early game junglers. So the ability to run into a lane and cause an immediate impact at the start of the game causes a snowball effect. And I think I've put this up in another video, but snowballing is essentially getting an advantage and creating more and more and more, pushing a snowball down a hill. It becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. When you get ahead, you get your teammates ahead, and your teammates get you ahead, and it's sort of like a never-ending, satisfying loop. And you want to continually force the action in this way. When you get ahead, the enemy team's behind, you guys are ahead, you're stronger, so you can go and push more things, and more things become available to you. As you can sort of understand now, your actions do have consequences, so if you're behind, you're going to have less options on the map. You might not even be able to consider looking at the mid lane Bs if you're level 6 and enemy jungler is level 8. So when you think about this, and you think about how the way this all plays out, you need to be constantly aware that, you know, when you play these late game junglers, oh look, I need to be a bit more pacing, I need to be thinking about, you know, my jungle clear, I need to be thinking about getting my levels, and I need to think about stalling the game. And if you play the other type of jungler, if you play the early game jungler, you need to think about how can I put the most impact on the map in the shortest amount of time? How can I cause the most damage and devastation so when they do come back, they're so far behind, it's a very terrible experience. And I guess this is going to come down to this core essence of Pokemon Unite, where the team that scales into the game matters a lot at Rayquaza. But at the same time, if you're scaling and you're still forced to scale at Rayquaza, it's not that good anymore. You'd rather be the level 15 early game characters. So definitely some food for thought there about generally how to play Pokemon Unite. So the next big objective is 7 minutes. So let's just get a Regi Steel and a Regieleki. And I guess this is probably where we'll start to end it, because this is, I'd say, the last major decision before I have to go on a full like 2 hour length video. So the Regieleki, it's basically talk about a concession objective. I wouldn't normally do this as a jungler because naturally it doesn't give any bonuses to your team. It does help push the lane, but most of the time you want to fight over the buff that actually enhances your team, which is the bottom lane buff. But we'll go into Regi a bit more in a second. So talking about the buff that enhances our team, it's the bottom lane buff, which is Regi Steel, Regi Rock, or Regi Ice. And the differences between these are doing this objective allows you to push in bot lane goal, which is probably a little bit more impactful than the top lane goal because of the Regi. So when you get this buff, you're going to either do enhanced damage, more healing, or more defenses, which is going to allow you to just stat trade against your opposition. And if you play the fight correctly, it's going to allow you to also invade into the jungle, which is going to be perfect for you to do. So let's just say red side gets the Regi. They're unable to push, but then they'll go and run into the jungle and they'll see to scour everything they can, then run up top and then control this objective as well. That's generally the rotations that happen in the game due to this Regi falling. And if the other team fights you for this Regi and they lose, you can just go and take the pad then. So as you can see, there's a lot of different alternatives that happen based off these Regis. It's like the first big team fight, the big Kickstarter of the game. And so I guess that's where it goes back to that point of the early game junglers, because the early game jungler more than likely will be ahead. And if it isn't ahead, then the late game jungler actually starting to scale, starting to be kind of strong for this team fight, and then you can sort of see a little bit of problems arise. I guess now is a perfect time to talk about what kind of characters do play in the jungle, right? So we're talking about like Leafeon and Delphox. These are two very distinct styles. The characters that play in the jungle are almost exclusively carries, right? You don't have any supportive junglers in the game right now. If this is because how the game is designed and the ideas of the game, probably, like, because the jungle does have the most experience. But that also means that when you're playing junglers, you want to make sure you're limiting the defender picks in the jungle. Like, defenders in the jungle are not as great as playing attackers and all-rounders and speedsters. Those are all pretty much jungler picks. If they're not in those categories, don't consider it. And I didn't even say all-rounders are usually towards the bottom end of it. Now, the only reason I'm bringing all-rounders into it is mainly we do have Cypher, but I guess that technically counts as a speedster. But then both forms of Urshifu, which are very good junglers throughout this whole year. I think you can draw the parallel. Most of the attackers are early, like late game. So attackers are late game, and maybe some all-rounders. And then speedsters are nearly always early. So now that you think about the game like this, you should have a good idea of your jungler pool selection and like what you want to do as a jungler. You also should have a good idea of what objectives to go to and like how the game should flow in your control. And then also finally, you should have a good idea of like how the game will go for the first 2 minutes. After this, as I said, I've been reiterating the whole time, your decisions make consequences which are positive and negative. Jungling is about making decisions, and it's about making decisions that are hard and easy. You're not going to always get every game which is going to be telling you, I have to go this. Be adaptable, be creative, don't do the same thing. But at the same time, you're going to have some decisions that are screaming at you, like going, yes, please, please, like the Regis, or maybe getting a set of Bs over doing like, nothing in your jungle. At the end of the day, jungle is a role about creativity. The central area is brimming with it, and I think the more creative a player you are, you're going to excel in this role. This role is for you if you enjoy carrying the game and like making an early impact, and also like assisting your teammates in ways. I hope you learned something from this video, because I guess for me, it's a lot of like, it's all instinct now. After thousands and thousands of games of jungling, I like, this is back of my hand stuff. And I hope it can be back of the hand stuff for you as well. I'll probably make a more in-depth guide in time, but for now, I want to give you guys a taste of what a role guide could look like, and maybe something for a good idea. The first 2 minutes of the game, you've been given a survival kit, you're going to survive, and you're going to be able to grow your own style and talent as a jungler in time with this. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a sub, like, and a comment about what you enjoyed about the guide and what you want to learn in the future. Okay, cheers guys. I'll be back later.